What are we doing? We're talking about Metal Gear.
Yes, we're here on today's special edition of Lunch Breaks, talking about
what makes this one so special.
well, we're talking about Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes and the craziness behind the series. I am not too familiar, so
What do you mean you're not too familiar? It's like,
the only research I've done has been into the crazy conspiracy theories surrounding.
okay, but what's your actual experience with the Metal Gear Solid franchising? Because like I've been with this thing since the original Metal Gear on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
I own the Vita HD remaster.
Oh my God! Why are we even talking
But
about this? Then?
But wait, just wait. I haven't
All right.
played it, so
Okay.
so take that. What I know is just trying to read as much of the story
You see,
as I can.
because the reason that we're doing this today is
Yep.
because you're about to tell me something about Metal Gear that I don't know, which is pretty unusual because
Right.
usually I do a lot of homework about Metal Gear because it's like I love this franchise. But you know something about this
I may
that I don't know.
I may know some.
Oh,
I may
okay.
have an inkling of something.
Okay.
Again, not too steeped into the Metal Gear Solid lore.
Okay, so
Lots of rumors flying around.
So what is this? And I'm assuming that the reason that we're talking about this while we're playing Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is because this is all related to Ground Zeroes and the upcoming The Phantom Pain.
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
Exactly.
So what is this crazy news that you know about?
Not something new for Kojima, because there was the whole, I guess one of the other games is kind of a simulator, but people are positing that the Ground Zeroes is specifically a simulation of the Camp Omega incident.
Okay, now why do they think that it's a simulation as opposed to simply pushing forward the narrative and explaining how Big Boss ends up in a coma?
It's a good question.
See, because for me, it's like, the thing is, what's interesting to me about Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is that at first, when people were playing through Peace Walker, a lot of the hardcore Metal Gear fans were like, wait, what's going on here? Because,
Right.
Big Boss is setting up an army with, out on the coast, and he wasn't actually supposed to be doing this until the 80s. Is
Right.
Kojima completely messing up his own continuity? And there were a lot of questions about that. But once you play Ground Zeroes, you understand that, basically Kojima reduced everything to Ground Zero
Yeah.
and got the plot back on track with the established canon.
Ish,
or-
yeah.
So, because it's like a Big Boss is at the end of this. Can we spoil this? Like, is it okay to talk about the plot developments in this video?
I would say so.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lunch break, so
Okay,
we're pretty.
Okay,
not
so
strict about it.
spoilers, kids, for those of you who absolutely refuse to play this game on the grounds that you think it's a glorified demo. We can argue about the validity of that argument at another place and time.
Another juncture.
But okay, so the way that this particular game ends is Big Boss ends up in a coma after his military base gets completely razed to the ground.
Right.
His base is basically Ground Zero. It just, for all intents and purposes, gets flattened. And
So
he
that's
ends
what
up
a Ground Zero
Yeah,
is.
and he ends up in a coma. And
Do we see him going into a coma?
you see him getting knocked out, and then they cut to cutscenes, which presumably are cutscenes we're also going to see in the Phantom Pain
Right.
when that game begins, where he wakes up and he's told that he's been in a coma for 9 years.
Mhm.
Which, like I said, that puts this whole story back on track with the established canon that we got from Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear 1 and Metal
Okay,
Gear 2,
yeah.
it's like back in the day. So
Mhm.
for people that are just following the chronological timeline, this whole game makes a lot of sense. But now you're telling me that there are
I'm saying there are some rumors
there are
out there.
opposing points of view
There
that
are rumors out there,
that are
yeah.
saying that this is a simulation.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the evidence?
I think the single biggest sort of pointing, factor for it is at the end of Peace Walker, which again you mentioned, kind of janked up the storyline a little bit. But at the end of Peace Walker, Snake decides that he doesn't want to be called that anymore and goes by Big Boss.
Right.
However, in Ground Zeroes, he's going by Snake. This takes place after Peace Walker, sorry. So you would think that the other people would stop calling him Snake by now. So the idea is that this is a simulation of the Camp Omega incident, and he's actually someone else. So the Big Boss from whatever game that I still haven't played is actually whoever is running this simulation right now. Again,
Okay.
just a rumor, and you can chop it down.
Okay,
give me some
Okay,
context.
I mean,
you
it's
know?
like the thing is that if this rumor were true, then that would mean that Kojima is actually being kind of predictable, and he's pulling off, a twist similar to the stuff that he's done before in past
Right,
games, like
right.
Metal Gear Solid 2. Sons of Liberty. It's like
Right.
I don't know if Kojima would actually pull the same trick twice like that.
But that in itself could be the twist. You don't expect him to zig. He's going to zag.
Yeah, but
Wow.
it's like I don't know. I mean, it's like
He sees
my-
himself as a movie director.
My,
right?
Yeah, but my own take on this is that it's like Kojima likes to do different things. It's like he's not one to actually repeat himself. I don't know if he would repeat himself just for the sake of surprising the audience, especially it's like after the bait and switch that he did with Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, where people got very upset over that, and he more or less had to apologize with it's like Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater.
Here you go.
Which was an apology that people accepted.
Yeah,
know.
that's good. That's at least we're here today, right?
Yeah.
From that point, so
It's like, and the thing is that it's like for the most part he's it's like been fairly consistent about telling the story. It's like it gets a little twisted and complicated because he's got to wrap up all the crazy twists and turns that he's done in the past games, but yeah, he's never gone so far as to pull like the whole Matrix. It was a simulation, or it was all just a dream.
well, no, it wasn't
thing,
all
is it?
just a dream, right? Just the big boss that we are all familiar with, the evil big boss, isn't really Snake or a big boss. He's just some guy who thinks he is. That's, I guess.
But then, so if we go with that, then what exactly are we getting into with Phantom Pain? Is that going to be Big Boss then, or is that still going to be a continuation of this simulation? Like, what are these guys saying about that?
Yeah, well, that's one of the big things. Yeah, it comes into the whole, the weird viral thing they started when they announced it with the bandage-faced guy Ishmael and the Whale Development Studio, whatever they did with that.
Yeah.
Saying that that character is actually the guy doing the simulation. So they made him run the simulation, and then they tell him he comes out of a coma.
So are these guys saying then that the Phantom Pain is not even going to involve Big Boss at all? It's just going to continue to be this guy?
Well, it's about the supposedly, again, not about, but supposedly, potentially, about his realization, because of this Phantom Pain, that he is not actually Snake or Big Boss.
Right.
There's actually Ishmael, his other half, that he's been cut off from, and he can never go back to, which makes him the evil, angsty, angry Big Boss we all know and love. That's the theory.
I don't know. This really feels like...
Hey, it's fun to talk about.
It is fun to talk about, but yeah, it also seems like, it really is just people who are afraid of getting fooled by Kojima again.
Just trying to throw it.
So they
every
want to make
possible-
sure that they're absolutely prepared for, like, the big elaborate bait and switch, which
Oh, I saw it coming.
I honestly don't think that it's going to happen. Like, I mean, it's like, I could be wrong. This is, after all, Kojima that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, he really does seem, like, to enjoy the story of Snake and Big Boss, and I don't know how much he would, kind of want to mess with that legacy.
Yeah.
Just, for the sake of, saying to the fans, it's like, aha, it's like I pulled another fast one on you guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is Kojima, so, it's extremely difficult for anybody to make any firm predictions about what he's going to do. I mean, the guy does have a reputation for just doing the wackiest things.
And he's
there's a
been
lot of
throwing
wacky
us
stuff in this game,
curveballs left and
He
right.
has been throwing us curveballs, but I don't really know whether that's
Maybe
a
that's the
curveball
ploy,
that
right?
he would be willing to entertain.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I can see that. But I gotta say, like, at least we've come to this from the previous installments. This is amazing. I've only previously checked out the dark level, and I only assumed that's what we got. But this is great.
Oh no! I mean, it's like that's it. It's a weird thing about Ground Zeroes is that it's like there's the initial Ground Zeroes mission, which depending on how you play, you can finish in anywhere from 10 minutes to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Again, depending on how you play.
3 hours. I don't think I've heard that one quoted.
It actually took me about 3 hours my
Okay.
first time, but that's only because I was actually listening to all of the tapes.
Yeah. Taking
and stuff
in
like
every
that.
yeah. That's
Because
what
I'm a Metal Gear fan, so
Yeah.
it's like I wanted to listen to all of the tapes and catch up on the plot developments that Kojima had whipped up in the meantime. So
Of course.
So for a fan, it took quite a bit of time to get there, but
But I mean, that's what you paid for, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
paid
like
for it all.
and
Yeah.
once the main mission is done, then it opens up a bunch of side ops, which have different mission parameters and take place at it's like different times of the day, like this one. And
I really like seeing the daylight environments because the open world is definitely what I'm most excited about.
Hopefully Kojima was not exaggerating when he said that Phantom Pain is actually going to be 200 times larger.
That
Then
seems a little outrageous.
Ground Zeroes, yeah, because I mean, it's like that's the claim that he's making. It's like I don't know. This is again, this is Kojima we're talking about, so it's like he's not prone to the it's like same kind of hyperbolic boasting that somebody like say Peter Molyneux.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter. The less said about that, the better.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, we'll just graze over that one.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, what was that new game? The God game.
Goddess?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
Oh.
How do I? Oh yeah. Oh. Throw the body. Oh, I didn't mean to
What's
throw that.
the mission point of this one?
This one is you're actually supposed to find a guy and interrogate him and get a cassette tape off of him for information. But because I got all caught up in us talking about the Metal Gear conspiracy, I completely ignored that.
You're just taking
and now
that
I'm just
over.
running around willy-nilly shooting people so that the good listeners have something to look at while I sort of listen in half disbelief about the idea that this is not actually the boss.
It's not. So what? So do you think then that the story is going to be linear? It's going to follow like the setup that everyone who's expecting it to follow will? That it's going to be just the story of how Punished Snake becomes Big Boss because of his actions?
I think that is going to be the case because, quite frankly, that is a story that needs to be told. I mean, it's like, at this point, that's the iconic event that sets everything else up in all the subsequent series.
Yeah.
And
ridiculous as they may be.
Yeah, and Kojima's done a great job of making, it's like Naked Snake, a.k.a. Big Boss. It's like a dude of morals and principles. So how we get from the Big Boss that we're familiar with from Snake Eater onwards to the same Big Boss that sends young Solid Snake off on his first mission to take out Metal Gear, and then ends up fighting his Solid Snake, whom he eventually comes out as his own clone son. It's like that story needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he's not going to do it, for the next generation debut of the Metal Gear franchise, I don't know when is going to be a better time to do it. So
When it becomes a movie?
yeah. So my feeling is that it's like because it is such a seminal event in the Metal Gear canon. Kojima does like his fans. I mean, it's like he does not like to just completely mess around with them and upset them.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
So
okay.
So I think that he will give the fans what they want because it's like he's never been sitting there going it's like haha you poor fools, it's like I'm going to mess around with your heads and completely upset you because I enjoy your suffering.
Yeah. So that would upset you then. It would upset you if the Big Boss that we've come to know and love throughout the series is actually decoy, and the Big Boss is actually
because it's not a very it's like credible or emotionally authentic explanation. It's like you can go ahead and you can say that, but it's just like that famous '80s nighttime soap opera. I can't even remember which one it was, Falcon Crest or Dallas. Maybe it was
Dallas Dynasty.
Where they it's like they had one it's like amazing season ender where everybody died, and then the next season they opened with it was all a dream, a horrible dream, and that's how they wrote away the whole thing, and the fans were understandably completely upset. But the writers had put themselves into a corner at that point. They had no choice. Kojima, if he goes with that particular conspiracy that you're talking about, he would be writing himself into that unacceptable corner. I don't know if he wants to do that. I don't know if he wants to do that to the fans. And it's like me personally as a fan, I would probably be upset and unimpressed if he actually resorted to that. So it's like that's my take on it. But it's like again, I'm old school. I've been with this series since its debut on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah. And yes, fans, I know that it originally debuted on the MSX2. I know that. It's just that my first encounter with it was on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So I'm just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I guess all we can do is see, and
it's this year, right? Comes out this year.
It's that's the theory.
Oh.
I mean, there could be a delay.
Okay.
I mean, it's like delays happen, but we'll just have to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. It's like, but then I actually enjoyed Metal Gear Ground Zeroes, despite the fact that I do feel that the price is unreasonable. It's like I think it's good. It's a taste of what's in store for us. $40. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We can definitely debate that, but
I'm just curious to see if the Phantom Pain will include Ground Zero. Doesn't seem like it is, but I guess we're waiting until...
I expect that we'll see that in some sort of collector's or Game of the Year edition or something like that. Maybe not right away, but it does not strike me as unreasonable that at some point eventually they're going to bundle everything together.
It's timing, right? It could be DLC. Day one DLC. You could yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till...
That's Metal Gear, so I'll just end this with Big Boss just running into the fire, going out in a blaze of glory.
Blaze of glory.
We go. Is he still not dead? No, that's it. Okay.
That's it. A lot to think
And
about.
he's done. Continue from checkpoint. I say no.
No, he's not gonna talk back. Well,
And
thanks for watching.
that's it.
I
Okay.
guess we'll find out late this year, early next year, if my supposed internet
Don't do
rumors
it,
are right or
Kojima.
not.
Don't do it. Don't
But
do it.
You heard this long
Don't do it.
fan. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Go ahead, stop recording.
He's dead. No, you have to